Thank you. I am so delighted to see everybody here today. I'm excited and thrilled to share with you the results of what we've been doing behind the scenes for quite a while now. I think I've had conversations with many of you, and you get to have a sneak preview of how we're thinking about moving ahead, what is happening behind the scenes at LACP. So now we get to kind of share the entire process with you. So we're delighted and excited. And I want to start by first and foremost to thank the team. Everybody's here today: Matthew, Kevin, Jason, Janice, and Brandon. None of this could not have happened without their amazing skills, dedication, commitment. You all know them. You're all in direct communication with them, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're the dream team, and they make LACP happen with you. So I'm so grateful. And I was the new kid on the block last year, right? So I was the newcomer, and the way that you all and the team had welcomed me to LACP had been amazing. So I just want to acknowledge all of their efforts. And I'm also particularly grateful to our board of directors. Some of our board members are here on the call today. I see that Eric is here. He always hates when I call him out, which is why I keep on doing that. I'm also grateful to our board of advisors. All of your insight and feedback and experience had really helped this thinking process and what has been going on behind the scenes. So I think we can pull up the presentation and kind of take a look at where we're headed next. So I want to start by saying, yes, I mean, first and foremost, LACP is now marking its first decade as a nonprofit. And I think you all know that that is no small feat. And in today's climate, especially, I think it's incredible for a nonprofit to have this track record. And we're looking for ways to grow upon the work that has been done over the past years with LACP. Can we move to the next slide? So the world, you may have noticed, we have survived something pretty major. Some would refer to it as the apocalypse. So the changing conditions in the world over the past few years had really taken their toll on all of us and on all of our communities. I see that people have joined us today from New York and from here in LA. The experience had been visceral and traumatizing on many different ways. And LACP adapted quickly and created online programming that brought us closer to photographers where they are in the world. We were able to create this community and nurture this community online in spite of all these challenges. As creators, we respond to social issues, and it has been crucial for LACP to reflect these commitments in our work, whether we're thinking about the back end and how we handle everything behind the scenes, to the front end, to our classes and events and how we communicate with each and every member of this community. So we've pushed through the challenges that defined our lives over the past few years, and we are grateful to you, all of you, our members and our participants and our students, for your ongoing involvement and support. I think you're all aware that during the pandemic, the building that LACP was housed in was sold. In addition to that, other spaces here locally in LA that promote photographic creativity closed down or had to change their operations. For us at LACP, this means that we have a huge responsibility toward the photographic community in LA and beyond. And we started thinking in earnest, what does this responsibility mean? And we started looking also at how do we go back to being with one another in person and what should drive us forward. Next slide, please. So for us, despite and in spite and because of all the challenges, every challenge also hides an opportunity. And this was an opportunity to enhance our activity online and find new ways to meet photographers where they are. We became a hybrid institution. And since 2021, we have also been a nomadic institution. And this allowed us to create partnerships with other nonprofits all across LA and expand our reach and activity into areas that we have never been in before on the local level, but also as a hybrid institution, working with communities online to reach countries, cities, neighborhoods, communities that we've never been a part of before as well. So it also meant that we need to rethink and I like to say, focus on the first half of our name, LA. What does it mean to be a photo center in 2022 and 2023? What does it mean to be a photo center that is based in LA? What will it look like in 5 years from now or in 10 years from now? Who do we serve? What are their needs? Where do we need to be? We started asking all these questions, and we realized that as a center, we need to reflect the plurality of photographic practice in all of its layers and textures and directions. Photography is never a singular object, process, or approach. I think you all know that firsthand very clearly. Photography is defined through its presence as what I like to call photographies, inspired by Professor John Tagg, who coined this term, a space that can contain and is informed by multiplicity, by various approaches and ideas. If you focus on the technology that makes photography, you will probably get left behind. We keep trying to talk about current technologies in time before they get replaced by something else. Our field never stops changing, and we need to reflect those changes. We need to acknowledge them, and we need to think about what is at the core of photographic practice. Next slide, please. So we began by looking at where we have been. I think there might be another slide before this. Yes, thank you. So we began by looking at where we have been. LACP has been mentoring and cultivating photographic-driven creativity for over 2 decades. LACP built this thriving community of photo-based artists and practitioners from all ranges of media and expertise. As you all know, we provide mentorship, professional development opportunities, training, and crucially, a space for a community, a network of peers and collaborators. So who is in our network today? Who is not? And what do they need? Do we even know? All those questions suddenly became very crucial. Next slide, please. So we started having conversations. I think many of you kind of got a message from me suddenly or from Brandon. And I wanted to get a better sense of your experience with us at LACP and hear about what we're doing, what we're not doing, what we could do better. So there were many conversations that helped us to get a sense of our community from LA to Texas. I see that we also have people on the call today from Washington, which is great. We've had conversations with people in London, in the Netherlands, in Israel, and back again. We conducted surveys, and it felt like we were really able to start a listening campaign and get a sense of where you all are and how we can serve you better. In addition to that, we began identifying potential partners, which is something that I'll come back to in a little bit, to see who we can work with and what we can do to expand our reach and expand the type of conversations that we engage in. Based on this feedback, we began outlining a path toward a strategic process. Next slide, please. So these are some of the questions that we've asked along the way. How do we connect to this place? How do we connect to Los Angeles? And then if we get a better understanding of what does it mean to be a part of this place and create photography that is driven by this place, then how do we connect to national and international photographers? How do we engage in a conversation that is driven by our identity as an LA-based center and bring it to the world? And then where are we not present? Where do people don't know us here in LA, but also across the world? And of course, always, what can we do better? So next slide. So welcome. We're looking into the future and we're looking toward LACP 3.0, which is how we've been lovingly calling this process. We're excited to share this new path forward and to share a little bit about why we think that LACP has a place within the larger photographic landscape. Because we know, as you know, that storytellers change the world. And you know, all of you experience it in your work on a daily basis, that you need a space, a safe space, a hub where you can own your craft, articulate your voice, and find that next stage in your journey, wherever it may take you. So we began to think about LACP as a crucible that forges creative vision, insight, and experimentation into this vibrant, amazing photographic community that also expresses the cultural and artistic cross currents that are the essence of LA. Next slide. All of this is driven by our mission. LACP enables its communities to capture, interpret, and reimagine individual and cultural conflicts and the creative combustion that shape Los Angeles, but then also influence the world. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. Next slide. What does it mean in terms of our goals? So if we think about the capture component, we think about how we keep on growing, but we're always serving as a hub for creativity and a launch pad for creatives to reach the world, whether through this internal community and a network that keeps expanding, and through programs, public programs and educational initiatives, all are driven by our commitment to justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And how do we create opportunities to deepen and expand these creative journeys as well? When we think about the interpret part, we think about how do we consider our histories and how can we challenge the existing structures of discourse? How can we offer a new systemic architecture to the work that you all are doing? How do we reflect the plurality that defines photography? And then we get to reimagine what that means. We get to engage with the world and offer pathways to the future of the field. We're all thinking about what does it mean to be a photo center in the 21st century? And how do we honor our origin points by reaching new heights? Next slide, please. These goals then translated to how we think about our internal operations and how we create and imagine our next steps. So here is more about what we've been doing in this scope throughout the year. The strategic process went hand in hand with a rebranding process. That led us to work both locally in person and nationally online while developing partnerships and conversations with other communities, organizations, and art world professionals. Through the lens of our connection to this place, we began looking at how our identity should inform our programming and strategic partnerships. And I was so delighted that we were able to launch an outreach program that focuses on empowering underserved middle schoolers and teenagers, high school students, through visual literacy and nonverbal forms of expression. And I can proudly share with you that we now have a number of partners, other nonprofits that we work with across LA, we just now launched a new partnership with Inglewood Parks and Rec. That is where we teach workshops. I think we might have him on the call here too today. David Alice has been teaching a new workshop there as well. We're now working on a culminating event with one of our partners, the Children's Institute, with whom we organize workshops for children at a number of schools, mostly in Watts. And in preparation for the culminating event, we realized that we've just this year served 50 children that have never had an experience before with photography. For most of them, English is a second language, and now they have this powerful tool in their hand to crystallize and reflect their perspective of the world. We also took a deep look at our programming, seeking to create dedicated programs and talks to better reflect and share the process that we have been undergoing. We were thinking about how do we come back to being together, and how do we share all of this research and interest with the world. I think many of you had the pleasure of attending a couple of the panels that we've organized in the framework of Backyard Conversations, think tank style conversations about the relationship between photography and Los Angeles. But we've also been doing extensive programs online, anything from conversations with Iranian-born female identified photographers to benefit events to help support the efforts in Ukraine. So we really took a deep look at how we're thinking about our presence and how do we utilize our platform to best promote our community and help drive conversations around photographic expression. We started thinking about how does in-person programming differ from online programming. We've created, Janice mentioned our studio visit program. We also have now an extensive travel workshops program, a writing program, and we've also expanded our portfolio reviews that serve photographers from all across the world. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that we're now seeking to be proactive instead of reactive. And in that spirit, we've also rejuvenated some of our existing programs, including our certificate programs and our one-year program, in addition to taking a very close look at our work study program and update them to respond to where we are now and how we are all living and all the changes that we've been undergoing over the past few years. New initiatives that have resulted from this process are really exciting. And one of them is something that many of you have got to experience a few weeks ago, Life Cycles, which is an exhibition we've organized along with our partners at Inner City Arts. We have had an open call that thinks about our relationship with nature in an urban environment. Peter Bennett, hi Peter. Peter Bennett taught a workshop for Inner City Arts students, but also led a workshop for the wider public and the parents of the students from Inner City Arts, and selected images from the open call and from these workshops were shown side by side at a public event at Inner City Arts, and the exhibition was shown there for a number of weeks. So that is an example of how the way we're thinking about our role and our interest and our commitments have translated into public programs and partnerships as well. Next slide, please. We are so honored to be supported by a community of photographers that contribute their time and skills to help us do better and get to the next phase. And Art Streiber, whose words you're seeing there on your screen, is one of those people that have been at our side and have provided incredible insight for our work on an ongoing basis. And we're so delighted to also partner with Art and with our board of advisors for this next chapter of LACP. Next slide, please. I shared with you our goals, and I wanted just to say something about how they all inform our ongoing annual programs. So we continue to build a dynamic community through listening, connecting, providing space, and remaining committed to change and social justice. In that spirit, we organize summer camps. The outreach program is a key component of that, as well as our work with community partners. We offer training and support, whether through the print lab or through mentorship opportunities. We support creative journeys with our 1-year and certificate programs, with scholarship for emerging photographers, with our portfolio reviews, mentorship, professional development, and online and in-person workshops. And we imagine the future of photography through exhibitions, think tanks, public programs, and partnerships with global organizations as well. Next slide, please. We're also incredibly lucky to have such amazing mentors that work with so many photographers at all levels and help them reach their full potential and dream up their next project and what they could do with their amazing creativity. Next slide, please. So what happens next? Because things are coming. Next week, we're going to be launching our new website, which is an effort monumental in scope. And we can't wait to share that with you. More announcements will follow, as well as some guidance on how to log in and how to engage with your new membership area. But we're not even there yet. We're just delighted to be able to share this with you. The website will include revamped programs, new offerings, updates about events in LA, and our new online offerings as well. And in the next slide, I'm so delighted to share with you our new logo that's going to be a part of our website as well. And we can't wait to share all of this with you. And we can also, what do you guys think? Can we share a sneak preview of the homepage for the new website as well? Welcome to our new homepage. Welcome to our new website. Next week, this will be visible for you as well. I'm taking you on a tour behind the scenes now. Ha. So this will be our new homepage, and you can see how the logo translates here and how we've tried to, first and foremost, honor all the photographs that we have on our website, and also to reflect everything that I've shared with you when it comes to the color scheme, when it comes to how we're thinking about the division of the page, when it comes to our logo. So this is how it's going to look like, and you get the first sneak peek. No one else had seen this. So yeah, this is, as they say, this is us. And now I am going to stop sharing so I can see all of you. So I want to thank you so much. Thank you, Kimberly. I want to thank you so much for joining and to share this space with all of you. And I also wanted to open the floor to any questions that you may have to any of us on the team, or anything about what I've just shared with you. Yeah, and everything that's going to happen next.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Lori.
When is your physical location going to be decided?
Well, we're going to have more announcements on that real soon. I can share with you from behind the scenes that I prioritize the website and rebranding process while building these partnerships across LA throughout the past year, because now when we're serving an international community, we wanted to make sure that the house is in order before we invite people over for drinks. So we've resumed the in-person space process as well, and more announcements on that will follow, I hope, very, very soon. And I think it's really exciting to be able to mark a decade of LACP with a new website, a new branding, and potentially then also inviting all of you who are in town to meet us at our new space as well.
I have a question.
Yes, Bonnie.
Hi there. Thank you so much for doing this. It's really great to hear about everything. I was just curious about our membership numbers. I have no idea, how many members we may have,
How many of you are in the world, right?
yes, how many, and maybe how many are here and in Los Angeles.
Bonnie, this was actually one of the first questions that we've asked when we started this process, because we just came out of like intense lockdown, and we looked around and we were like, wait, so where is everybody? Where are they coming from? And I think Brandon can attest to that too, that what we found, Brandon and Janice both, what we found shocked us, because we realized that we have about 1,500 members, and about 50% of them are no longer in LA, let alone in California. Meaning that many of them are across the country, and beyond that also internationally. So most of our members are in the US, but about 50% are local to LA.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
hey, that number, sorry, didn't mean to cut you up. Just to note that number also means that we're one of the largest photo centers in the country at the moment.
yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I'm just curious because during the lockdown, I joined and participated in photo centers all over. And now I'm wanting to, sort of go, okay, I'm glad I live in Los Angeles. I want to be here with my peeps because I'm just way too spread out. So I know it must be incredibly challenging to serve the people in physically here and not here. I mean, that to me is wonderful, but also probably stretching the resources.
Well, but that's part of the reason why it was so important for us to first and foremost create the new website, so that we'll be able to better reach and better serve people all across the country. But that also meant that we need to think about programming differently, right? Because the needs of the national and international community might be different than the needs of people that are here. And but we might be able to also create opportunities for people from all over to meet, which is part of the reason why the travel workshops became so important. So I think you probably all noticed people on the call that are local here to LA, that we started organizing in-person experiences and workshops and classes all across LA. And the way that they were hosted and organized were also trying to address the needs, but also trying to provide experiences that are special enough to get you interested to come out of the house. We don't really engage in the same way, I think, all of us after COVID. Now that we know that we can also do this online, I think you need a really special reason to leave the house, right? So for us, it meant that we need to think about everything that we do differently, all of our programming differently. And it also allowed us to take a more creative look at what we're doing and how we are hosting in-person experiences. So yeah, absolutely. It required recalibrating everything that we're doing. And some of the experiences will still stay online. Some of them will come back to in person, but in a different format. It just depends on the program. Absolutely.
Can I ask a question about what is your criteria for picking a new space to house LACP?
That's a great question. So we have a few criterias. We would love to find ourselves where the artists are. It's important for us to be in a creative environment and in an artist community. We want to make sure that our participants will feel safe. And since this is LA, and no matter where we'll be, it'll be inconvenient for a number of you. We want to make sure there's at least an adequate parking solution, and who knows, maybe close access to the freeways, which are things that are like really specific to LA when you choose a new space. So those were some of the larger criteria. Of course, we want to have a space where we can host our print lab. We're eager to get it back in action. You know, we were in person over the past year with the print lab, but that partnership had ended. So it's really important for us to reopen it as soon as possible. So a print lab, a classroom, a gallery space, a space for us to come together and convene. It doesn't mean that our partnerships across LA will disappear, right? We're working on exhibitions with other partners. We're working on our outreach program with partners all across LA, but we do want to have an anchor where you can all come and hang out and be with one another. So that space will need to serve all of those needs, but it also has to be sustainable.
Have you looked
Right.
at partnerships with state and local government that may be able to assist?
Yes, absolutely.
Provide, even if we had to pay for part of it?
Yeah,
Because there are many
absolutely.
spaces throughout LA.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Yes, absolutely. We've been in conversations with municipal agencies, and there's a long line of organizations before us, usually, for those spaces. But we were very, very fortunate to be able to have conversations around a number of at least partially funded spaces. We're not sure that is where we'll land, but we have been engaged in these conversations for a long time now. Absolutely.
How about also with major corporate sponsors that may actually like to leverage that creativity, Hollywood studios or other places like in the creative centers of LA, where
Yes.
there might be some synergy?
The short response is yes. The longer response is that we've been looking at this at a number of different areas across the county. Developers and larger corporations have also had their challenges, especially the larger corporations, as becoming partners. They have had significant challenges of their own over the past few years that kind of halted the possibility of moving forward with collaborations in that way that you're talking about. But it doesn't mean that it can't happen in the future. It doesn't mean that we're not still engaging in those types of conversations. But before we even get there, it's important for us to be back in person with a space that can serve our needs as a community, will still be fun, and engage other creatives around us as well. Absolutely.
Are you looking for other ways that you could leverage the members to assist you? Because I know there's a limited number of staff and there are only so many Brandons and Jasons and everybody else that's helping you. But have you ever thought of expanding the survey to, could you help us do these things to help you?
Mark, you are always invited to help us. Yes, absolutely. So we also have a work study program that allows students to gain experience by working with us in our events, in our print lab, in our classes as course assistants, while getting credits so that they can take more classes. And it's a program that we've been running for a number of years. So that's the first resource that that we have that has been tremendously helpful. But yes, members are always invited to participate and take part. We also don't want to overburden you, of course, but yes, I think that once we'll be back in our own space, there will be further opportunities like that when we'll reach out to the members community as well. Absolutely.
Thank you, Rotem. Great stuff, very exciting. Thank you. I was just at a conference of photo archivists and organizers, and one of the big topics of conversation was more educational outreach and opportunities in other languages. And I was just wondering if LACP had any plans along those lines to kind of expand to other language classes, workshops, and so forth.
Well, we're now in very early stages of conversations with corporations and potential partners that are international. We have not yet considered the possibility of offering classes that will be completely in a different language, although from a very different perspective of this, here in LA, as part of our outreach program, we're also trying to incorporate more instructors who speak Spanish as their first language. because that is really important for us as well. But on the international level, not yet, but it might happen as we continue to expand and grow our reach worldwide. Yes, Daryl Ann, please say hi to Lucia from me and from Roy.
Oh, I didn't mean to distract you with that,
No worries.
but it was just so funny when she told me about that. So I just wanted to mention, because I know every organization, there's been such a difficulty with the pandemic. Some organizations have gone away
Mhm.
and some have gone online, perhaps never to return to a physical space. So I really applaud and support the idea of having a place, especially since your name is so, center implies like there's a physical place. So I think that that's a really important idea. And I'm here from Brooklyn, New York. So I just, from another perspective of, I joined LACP because I have friends that are in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is a pretty important place. And so I wanted to, spread my photography and art reach to a number of different coasts and so forth. And so I guess I'm mentioning this because I know that it's hard for an organization to spread too thin, like regarding, for example, there's so many good ideas, languages, and all these different things.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's a really good thing that people from other places are included in the conversation of photography for Los Angeles, not just because we want to be there, but also because it facilitates a likewise kind of dialogue, in the sense of, maybe there are people part of the center that want to present their work in New York. And so it sort of involves a little bit of this synchronicity. And so I just, wanted to mention that I don't know how much of an outreach, because I know it's mostly Los Angeles
Mhm.
centric, I would assume, but I think that the idea of you're being able to have exhibits in different and new places because of this sort of online reaching out and so forth, I think is a really good idea. And for me personally, I really like having physical exhibition, because I'm sorry, I know I'm taking a long time here, but
No worries.
because one of the things that I have found in our field is that it's sort of become rampant that there's a lot of, not you guys, of course, but there's a lot of scams now with organizations that do everything online. And what it means is, because they're not limited by physical space, they take in like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And, you're on their website. So, it just becomes a little suspect. So that's why I think having a physical space helps to establish a certain credibility factor, that kind of thing too.
I really appreciate that feedback, and we've been hearing from our members and participants how important it is for them to be able to have opportunities to reach new curators and museum professionals that might not be aware or know their work, and to have the possibility to exhibit in a physical space. So as soon as we could, we engaged in partnerships with other organizations that have hosted our exhibitions, or we did pop-ups all across the city, which then led to further conversations and further partnerships and further projects. So even without a physical space, we have been active in person as well, because we know how important it is for our members to have the opportunity to display their works in person, but also to come back and be together again. That was so important for people here on the ground as well. And the idea of coming back and being at our own space was also birthed out of that moment, because we do recognize the need and importance, and we see how crucial it'll be for us to be able to continue on impacting the photographic field in LA, but also beyond LA. As we grow our reach, it will also help to have a physical space. We know that for sure.
Wasn't really a question, more of a monologue, but thanks.
Appreciate it.
I'd like to jump in here real quick.
Yes, Eric, go ahead.
So going back to Bonnie's original question as to how many members we have, that new number is significant because it represents a huge increase in membership over the past few years. I remember when we only had 600 members, 700 members. So, the pandemic has really inspired a lot of people to join the organization. It is, at least primarily in the United States, but all over. And we're serving a lot of different communities now. We can't really call ourselves the International Center of Photography, right? But the
Maybe
internet,
they can.
but the membership is international, and I can't, really say enough how, excited, we as the board, are with Rotem, and what she's been able to accomplish in a very short time. She's great at multitasking. She's intelligent. She's articulate. She communicates very clearly, and she's definitely, since she's been on board, has looked at the organization from the ground up, picked her battles, prioritized, and is moving forward and takes every single every single thing that everybody brings up into consideration. And then certainly, the team with Brandon and Janice and Jason and Kevin and Matthew is executing all of these, initiatives. And it's seamless to the rest of us. We just see stuff happening. And, we don't always give credit or think about what's happening behind the scenes. And certainly I get asked a lot about the new space. The new space is coming. It just takes time, because our organization is so spread out now across the country. The priority had to be the website first. But being on the inside, knowing what's going on, there's just, while last year was exciting and the things that Rotem has talked about now are exciting, there's lots of exciting things to come. Just don't want to jinx it.
Don't jinx it.
Don't want to jinx it. So
I'd like to
yes, we want to get the
one-
print lab back up, Mark. We do.
Do.
I want
wanna
to add
teach
one
my
thing to
don't-
what,
Thank you, Eric. I know it's really hard. I'm just asking on that little constant conscience, because I'd
Yeah.
like to get into print, but anyway,
You're not the only
It's
a
one.
lot of
coming.
people would.
You're not the only one. So yeah, we're very
I'm
anxious to
not?
get those printers up and running again.
speaking to
I-
what you were just saying, Eric, I just wanted to mention something, and that is that, just so you understand, I mean, I don't want it in any way to seem like it's a pressure thing at all of what I was saying. What I was saying is I recognize and I can see how important it is. And I'm really happy to hear that is what I was trying to say. It wasn't like, okay, when's it going to happen? Because I'm a curator and I know all the things that go on with this sort of thing. So I'm just gratified to see that it is so important, because I think that it says a lot about sort of the mission of the organization. So
Can I ask who designed the website? Is it a company or?
Yes, of course you can. Infoco, they're a woman-owned local here to LA, and they work primarily within the art world context. And they also have a lovely publishing house. And it was developed and is being developed, I should say that in present tense, by an amazing studio, also woman-owned, also local to LA, called Zebra Studios.
Mhm. How do you spell their name? I couldn't understand the first.
Infoco, INFO-CO,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Zebra without an E. Okay. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. You don't even know how excited we are and thrilled to finally be able to share all of this with you. And next week, we will send you an announcement. Well, we finished polishing the floors and we put some flowers around and we're ready to open up. You'll get an email that invites you to log into our website. That will be followed by more announcements about how to log into your member area. So all of those things are coming next week. And in the meantime, as always, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, please reach out. We want to hear from you. And we can't wait to celebrate all of this with you throughout the year. And here's to another amazing 10 years for LACP in this community. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All soon.
Yay!
Yay. Enjoy your afternoon. Bye-bye.